7 words. That's all it takes for an insurance adjuster to save their company $200,000. I'm sorry, but your claim has been denied. No explanation, no apology, just 7 words delivered in a calm, professional voice like they're reading a weather report. And on the other side of that phone call, someone's life falls apart. But here's what nobody tells you. That denial isn't random. It isn't a mistake. It isn't bad luck. It's the result of a carefully designed psychological system, a system built over decades, refined through billions of dollars of payouts avoided. And at the center of that system is a person whose entire job, whose entire performance review, whose entire bonus structure depends on one thing: getting you to accept less than you deserve. Or better yet, getting you to walk away with nothing. Today, I'm going to pull back the curtain on that system. I'm going to walk you through the 7 psychological tricks that insurance adjusters use every single day, not theories, not opinions. Documented, studied, proven tactics that cost Americans an estimated $20 billion a year in denied and underpaid claims. And for each trick, I'm going to give you the exact counter-move, the specific words, the specific actions, the specific rights that flip the power dynamic and put you back in control. Because once you see the tricks, they stop working. And once they stop working, the adjuster has no choice but to deal with you honestly, or face the consequences. Let's begin. Before we get into the tricks, you need to understand one thing. The person on the other side of that phone call is not your enemy. They're not a bad person. Most of them are decent, hardworking people doing a job. But the system they work inside is designed with one goal: minimize payouts. And that system doesn't rely on cruelty. It relies on psychology. On the predictable, reliable, deeply human tendencies that make you vulnerable in a moment of crisis. Think about it. When do you interact with an insurance company? After a car accident, after a house fire, after a cancer diagnosis, after a natural disaster. You are scared, you are in pain, you are confused, you are desperate for someone to help you. And into that vulnerability walks a trained professional who knows exactly which buttons to push. The American Association for Justice found that insurance companies deny, delay, or underpay claims at a rate that costs consumers over $20 billion annually. The National Association of Insurance Commissioners receives hundreds of thousands of complaints every year. And a study by the Kaiser Family Foundation found that in some markets, nearly half of all health insurance claims are denied on first submission. This isn't an accident. This is a business model. And the 7 tricks I'm about to show you are the engine that keeps it running. Trick number 1, the sympathy trap. The phone rings. You pick up, and the voice on the other end is warm, kind, almost gentle. "I'm so sorry to hear about your accident. That must have been terrifying. How are you feeling? Are you okay? Is your family all right?" It feels human. It feels like someone actually cares. And that's exactly the point. This is called rapport building, and it's the first step in every adjuster's training manual. They are taught to establish trust before they ask questions, because a person who feels understood lets their guard down, and a person whose guard is down says things they shouldn't. "I'm okay, I guess. Honestly, it was probably my fault. I didn't see the other car until it was too late. I should have been paying more attention." And just like that, without realizing it, you've given them a recorded admission of fault. In a claim worth $50,000, that one sentence could cost you everything. The sympathy isn't fake. The adjuster might genuinely feel bad for you, but the system they work inside converts that sympathy into data. Every kind word is a question. Every comforting pause is an invitation for you to keep talking, and everything you say becomes part of the file. Here's your counter move. When the adjuster calls and starts with sympathy, acknowledge it briefly. "Thank you, I appreciate that." Then immediately redirect. "I'd like to understand the claims process. Can you walk me through the next steps in writing?" You've just shifted the conversation from emotional to procedural. You've stopped giving them free information. And you've created a paper trail. Trick number 2, the recorded statement trap. A few days after your claim, the adjuster calls with a casual request. "Hey, we just need a quick recorded statement for our file. It's totally standard. It'll only take 5 minutes. It'll actually speed up your claim." It sounds harmless. It sounds routine. And in most cases, people agree without thinking twice. Here's what they don't tell you. That recorded statement is not for speeding up your claim. It's for building a case against you. Every word you say is transcribed. Every hesitation is noted. Every inconsistency, every misspoken detail, every moment of confusion is cataloged and stored. And if your story changes even slightly between your recorded statement and your later testimony, they will use it to undermine your entire claim. The National Association of Consumer Advocates has documented thousands of cases where recorded statements were used not to verify claims, but to deny them. Adjusters are trained to ask leading questions, to circle back to earlier answers, to get you to contradict yourself without realizing it. And here's the critical part. In most states, you are not legally required to give a recorded statement to the other party's insurance company. Your own insurance may require it under your policy, but the opposing insurer has no right to demand one. Here's your countermove. When they ask for a recorded statement, say this: exactly. I'd prefer to provide my account in writing. That way, I can be precise and thorough. I'll send a detailed written statement within 5 business days. You've just bought yourself time. You've given yourself the chance to review your words before they're locked in, and you've removed their ability to twist your tone, your pauses, your emotions against you. Written statements are your words on your terms, in your time. Trick number 3, the lowball first offer. This is the oldest trick in the book, and it's also the most effective because it doesn't rely on deception. It relies on a well-documented psychological phenomenon called anchoring. Here's how it works. Your claim is worth $40,000. The adjuster knows this. Their internal assessment says $40,000. Their supervisor has approved $40,000, but the first offer they make is $12,000. Why? Because the first number thrown into a negotiation becomes the anchor. Every number that follows is measured against it. So when they come back with $20,000, it feels like a victory. When they reach $28,000, you feel like you've won. You sign the release, you shake hands, you walk away thinking you negotiated brilliantly, and the insurance company just saved $12,000 on a single claim. Multiply that by millions of claims per year, and you begin to understand the scale of this strategy. A study by the Consumer Federation of America found that initial settlement offers in personal injury cases average between 30 and 50% of the claim's actual value. In some categories, the gap is even wider, and the psychology behind it is devastating. When you're in pain, when you're facing medical bills, when you can't work, $12,000 feels like a lifeline. Your brain, flooded with stress hormones, latches onto the first available solution. The prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for long-term thinking and rational calculation, gets suppressed. You don't negotiate, you accept. Here's your countermove. Never respond to the first offer. Not in the moment, not on the phone. Say this: thank you for the offer. I need time to review it with my records and possibly an attorney. I'll respond in writing within 2 weeks. Then do the math, get your total medical bills, get your lost wages, get your repair estimates, add them up. That number is your baseline. Anything below it is not an offer. It's an insult, and you respond accordingly. Trick number 4, the delay tactic. This one doesn't involve a single word. It involves silence. You file your claim, you submit your documents, you do everything they ask, and then nothing. No call, no update, no progress. Days become weeks, weeks become months. You call, they say it's under review. You call again, they say they're waiting on documentation. You call a third time. They say an adjuster has been assigned to your case, but hasn't had time to look at it yet. This is not incompetence, this is strategy. Insurance companies know that the longer a claim sits unresolved, the more likely you are to settle for less. The American Bar Association has documented this pattern extensively. Financial pressure mounts, medical bills pile up, you can't work, your savings drain, and slowly desperation replaces patience. When they finally come back with an offer, any offer, it feels like relief. You don't negotiate, you don't question, you just sign, because the alternative is more months of silence, more weeks of uncertainty, more days of watching your life fall apart while a file sits on someone's desk. In some states, this delay is technically illegal. Most states have prompt payment laws that require insurers to respond within a specific time frame, usually 30 to 45 days. But enforcement is weak, and most consumers don't know these laws exist. Here's your countermove. Document everything. Every call, every email, every letter. Keep a log, and if 30 days pass without a substantive response, send a certified letter stating the following: per my state's prompt payment statute, I am requesting a written update on the status of my claim within 10 business days. If I do not receive a response, I will be filing a complaint with the State Department of Insurance. That one letter changes everything. Because now the delay isn't just a file on a desk. It's a documented violation. And documented violations trigger investigations. Investigations cost money, and suddenly your claim gets attention. Trick number 5, the jargon wall. You're on the phone with an adjuster and they start talking. based on the policy provisions regarding subrogation and indemnification, and considering the comparative negligence threshold under your state's tort statute, we've determined that the coverage exclusion under Endorsement 7 precludes liability for the loss in question. You nod. You say, okay. You say, I understand, but you don't understand. Not because you're not smart, because they're not trying to be understood. This is called the jargon wall, and it's one of the most effective psychological weapons in the adjuster's arsenal. Legal and insurance terminology is deliberately complex. It's designed to create confusion, to establish authority, and to make you feel like you're not qualified to question the decision. When someone speaks to you in a language you don't fully understand, your brain defaults to deference. You assume they know more than you. You assume the decision is legitimate. You assume that fighting it would require expertise you don't have, and that's exactly what they want you to assume. Here's your counter move. When an adjuster uses jargon, stop them. Say this: I want to make sure I understand correctly. Can you explain that in plain English? What exactly does that mean for my claim, and what specific policy language are you citing? Then follow up in writing. Please provide me with the exact policy provision you're relying on, including the section number and page reference. 9 times out of 10, they won't be able to give you a clear answer because the jargon was the answer. It was the wall. And when you ask them to tear it down, they either have to give you a real reason or admit they don't have one. Trick number 6, the just between us trick. This one is subtle, almost invisible, and it's the most dangerous of all. The adjuster has been talking to you for 20 minutes. The conversation has been professional, maybe even friendly, and then their tone shifts. They lean in. Metaphorically, their voice drops. Look, I'll be honest with you. Just between us, your claim is stronger than they're letting on, but my hands are tied. The company wants to keep this under $20,000. If I were you, I'd take the $25,000 they'll eventually offer, because if this goes to court, you'll get a fraction of that. It feels like a confession. It feels like they're breaking the rules to help you. It feels like they're on your side. They're not. This is a negotiation tactic called false intimacy. The adjuster creates the illusion of a personal connection, the feeling that they're sharing insider information, that they're bending the rules for you, and in that moment of perceived trust, they plant a number in your head, $25,000, and they frame it as the ceiling, the maximum, the best you can hope for. But here's the truth. The adjuster has no authority to tell you what your claim is worth. That decision is made by a committee, by actuaries, by algorithms. The number they just gave you wasn't insider information. It was a calculated anchor, delivered in a way that made you feel like you were getting a favor. Here's your counter move. When an adjuster says just between us or off the record, respond with this: I appreciate the honesty, but I'd like to keep all communication in writing. Can you send me that assessment in an email so I have it for my records? Watch what happens. They'll hesitate. They'll backtrack. They'll say, well, I can't really put that in writing. And in that moment, the illusion shatters, because real insider information can be written down. Only manipulation requires a phone call. Trick number 7, the time pressure. This is the final trick, and it's the one that closes the deal. You've been negotiating for weeks. The offers have been creeping up. You're tired. You're stressed. You just want this to be over, and then the adjuster drops the hammer. I've got good news. My supervisor approved $32,000, but I need to be upfront with you. This offer is only valid for 48 hours after that. It goes back to committee, and I can't guarantee they'll match it. 48 hours, 2 days. Suddenly, every other consideration evaporates. You don't have time to think. You don't have time to consult. You don't have time to get a second opinion. You just have to decide. Now, this is artificial urgency, and it's one of the most powerful psychological triggers known to behavioral science. When humans perceive scarcity, when they believe an opportunity is about to disappear, their decision-making shifts from rational to reactive. The fear of loss overrides the pursuit of gain. You stop asking, is this fair, and start asking, what if I lose it? Insurance companies know this. They've studied it. They've built entire settlement strategies around it. And it works because it exploits a vulnerability that every human being shares: the fear of missing out. Here's your counter move. When they give you a deadline, respond with this: thank you for the offer. I need time to evaluate it properly. Please extend the deadline to 2 weeks. If the offer truly reflects the value of my claim, it will still be valid in 14 days. Then add this: if the offer expires, I will interpret that as a negotiation tactic rather than a genuine assessment, and I will adjust my response accordingly. You've just called their bluff, you've named the tactic, and you've removed their leverage. Because a real offer, an honest assessment of your claim's value, doesn't expire in 48 hours. Only a manipulation tactic does. Now, here's the thing about all 7 tricks. They don't work because they're clever. They work because you're vulnerable, because you're in pain, because you're scared, because you've never been through this before and they've been through it 10,000 times. But knowledge changes that equation. Once you know the tricks, once you can name them, once you understand the psychology behind them, they lose their power. The sympathy trap becomes transparent. The recorded statement becomes a request you can decline. The lowball becomes a number you can reject. The delay becomes a violation you can report. The jargon becomes a wall you can ask them to tear down. The false intimacy becomes a manipulation you can expose. And the time pressure becomes a bluff you can call. This is what the insurance industry doesn't want you to know. Their entire strategy depends on your ignorance, on your confusion, on your belief that they have all the power and you have none. But the law says otherwise. Every state in this country has consumer protection statutes for insurance. Every policy is a contract, and contracts can be enforced. Every denial can be appealed. Every delay can be reported. Every bad faith action can be litigated. You just have to know that those tools exist, and now you do. So here's what I want you to do. Save this video, bookmark it, share it with someone you love. Because one day, maybe tomorrow, maybe 5 years from now, you or someone you care about will get that phone call. The one where a calm, professional voice says 7 words that change everything. I'm sorry, but your claim has been denied. And when that moment comes, you won't panic, you won't cry, you won't accept the first number they throw at you. You'll take a breath, you'll remember this video, and you'll say 3 words of your own, put it in writing. Because the moment you put it in writing, the game changes. The tricks stop working, the power shifts, and the system that was designed to make you give up is forced for the first time to deal with you honestly. And if you want to know the exact 3-sentence script that forced an insurance company to pay out $87,000 they originally refused, click this video right here. Because those 3 sentences are the single most powerful tool you'll ever use against an insurance company, and they take less than 30 seconds to send.